Now joining us to discuss these issues, we are joined from Maryland by Ginger Chapman, who is a lawyer and a political analyst. Welcome back to Q News. Thanks for being here with us. So debt's already at 124% of GDP. What are the long-term risks, would you say, of adding a further $3.8 trillion to U.S. debt?
Yes, well, thank you for having me here today, and greetings to your viewers. And the American debt is of critical importance to our future and in our congressional meetings right now. And this is because as you mentioned, our deficit is 124% of GDP. Usually when deficit gets over 100% of GDP, that is a sign of economic trouble. Our biggest danger, our biggest risk right now is our trading partners, such as China in particular. Japan has been recently threatening to sell our treasuries. So our biggest economic risk is China, Japan, other countries selling our treasury bonds and stopping using dollars, at which point American inflation will increase and we will have the risk of not just inflation, but also stagflation, and then enter an economic morass. So right now, Trump's big, beautiful budget bill is an attempt to get us out of these deficits and to get our spending out of under control. Because truly, this is America's Achilles heel, is our spending is unsustainable. So this big, beautiful bill that the House just passed now needs to go to the Senate. There will be resistance in the Senate, but this is more than just a budget bill. This is Trump's laying out of his agenda over the next 10 years on immigration, border security, but also on American middle class, American working class incomes, and our ability to...
Well, let me ask you about that. And I must say for viewers, it is actually called the Big Beautiful Budget Bill as well. That's its official name. But how does this Big Beautiful Budget Bill align with Donald Trump's populist economic agenda? I mean, who stands to benefit most from the tax breaks in this bill?
Well, this is a subject of much discussion. And with Trump's original Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in his first term, most of the tax cuts went to the middle class. And Trump did intentionally remove tax cuts for the wealthy, one of which is under intense argument right now, the SALT, state and local tax deductions. These are viewed as deductions for the wealthy in highly Democrat states with high taxes. Those local taxes are viewed as hurting low tax Republican states. So there is going to be a lot of arguing, debating, deal making, and concessions coming up in the Senate when this bill goes to the Senate. However, it does appear that in order to generate investments, there will have to be concessions to the wealthy, of course, and it's impossible to cut taxes without cutting taxes for wealthy people who pay most of the taxes. One thing that we're going to try to do, and with this bill, the Republicans' biggest complaint is that the tax cuts are front-loaded. So in the first 5 years, the seniors will get tax cuts on their Social Security. There will be no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime. However, in the last 5 years, many of those cuts go away. So we've front-loaded the bill with the tax cuts up front, and the painful part comes in the last 5 years. And Republicans say they're going to use rescission, which means they're going to keep working on the bill over the next 10 years while it is in effect. So once again, these large comprehensive bills, there will be a lot of internal conflicts built into them, which the House and the Senate are now going to, they're now going to have to make the sausage, cut deals, get
Okay.
this bill through the Senate.
Okay. And there are issues that I think for many of Trump's base might be quite difficult. Stuff like the cuts in Medicaid. Also, the CBO has found, when they've looked at this bill, that it's going to affect income inequality as well, finding that the poorest 10% would actually lose income. Do you see that?
Well, the mechanism where we see where the CBO, the Congressional Budgeting Office, rates the economic hits to different economic groups, they are saying those economic cuts are coming from cuts to Medicare, cuts to food stamps, cuts to welfare services. And what the federal government is actually doing is shifting many of these costs onto the states. The federal government says they have to share the burden with the states where these residents live, and this is a mechanism to get the states to get their own economic house in order, so that the federal government is not paying the budget for all 50 states. Now, these cuts are speculative. This is basically, once again, these Medicare cuts are not planned to go through. This is shifting the cost to the states, so the individual poor people will not have their costs cut. They will have to rely more on their states, which under our Constitution, the individual states are supposed to be managing health and welfare of their own citizens, and pushing it onto the federal government is what has got us in this unsustainable economic position in the first place. However, it is undeniable we are $36 trillion in debt. There will be economic pain in our future. We need to spare the poorest and most vulnerable from this economic pain and not treat them as expendable. So as this bill goes to the Senate, there is going to be much more infighting, and many of these issues are going to play out in public before the American people.
Of course, Trump added $4 trillion to the national debt in his first term, with many tax cuts, which people would say for his rich friends. You said that many of the middle class also benefited as well. Adding another $3.8 trillion to the national debt. Is this republicanism?
This is actually what most of Trump's base, America First, and the fiscal conservatives are upset about, because the Republicans are supposed to be fiscally conservative, prudent economically. And to our surprise, we found that in Trump's first term, our spending skyrocketed. We saw the same exact thing happen with the continuing resolution within the first 100 days of Trump's new term. Doge went out and found many cuts, billions of dollars in savings that could be made. And within a month, our Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, restored all of that spending in the continuing resolution. So the American people are starting to realize that our Republicans are not as fiscally conservative as they pretend to be, as they make themselves out to be. And this is one of the things that is causing the American base to rebel. And we're seeing it with senators like, with House of Representative Thomas Massie and Senator Rand Paul. Senator Thomas Massie was known as America First before Trump was America First. Representative Thomas Massie has a very large America First following, and he and his group are pushing fiscal conservatism. This could be the thorn in Trump's side, not coming from the Democrats, but coming from his own fiscally conservative America First base with Representative Thomas Massie, Senator Rand Paul, Ron Johnson. So this might be where the battle and where the resistance in the Republican Party comes from.
Yeah.
Senator,
They've been spending a lot of time, haven't they, touring the TV studios to say their piece over the past few weeks. Now, regarding the second General Council meeting of the WTO, how do Trump's tariffs align? Do you think, with the WTO rules and global trade norms?
Well, what we're seeing Trump do right now is he is trying to dismantle the post-World War II Bretton Woods financial military arrangements that have dominated for America, for our economy. So the American people are behind Trump on the tariffs. However, once again, his execution, the carrying out of his policies leave us wondering, what his goal is. We've seen his reversals on the tariffs, created a lot of concern that he's flip-flopping. However, now it appears that his reversals and the uncertainty he was creating are part of his leverage to get our trading partners to enter into more equitable trading deals with us. It appears that Trump wants more bilateral trading agreements rather than economic blocs. However, the tariffs with the World Trade Organization, this is a shakeup of the world order. There is going to be resistance, and this is going to shake up our past 40 years of trading agreements, and it looks like Trump is going to try to negotiate one-on-one and more bilateral trade agreements. But once again, this could threaten the global economy.
Thank you very much, as always, for being here on Q News with us. Ginger Chapman, lawyer and political analyst, joining us from Maryland. Thank you very much indeed.